Let's make a simple booklet. Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. And today I wanted to invite you to have a look at how I made this little booklet. This is a booklet that I made a whole year ago and I have the video footage from that time. The audio isn't brilliant, the edit's not brilliant, I'm not that brilliant in that video. However, I would like to bring that to you as an archive video that I found, which has allowed me to spend time with my family and relax and reflect upon the passing of Queen Elizabeth II and her state and very public funeral that we wanted to watch and be a part of as such a historic event. So the archive video that I'm about to show you has allowed me the time to be peaceful and take stock of all the things that I need to reflect in my quiet space, and I will be back with the videos and up together and current as of tomorrow. But for today I'd like you to have a look at this, how to make this, and see what you think. And it's just a simple craft that you could have a little go at to get us back into the swing of things. But thank you for your understanding and I will be back with you very soon. And today I want to explore having a look at little booklets that you could make to add to a journal. They could even be a mini journal in their own right, because you are adding pages in a similar way that you would build your own journal with the papers that we use. So this was made out of junk, and we have metal corners, all four corners. This is some fabric that I used, and I made this for a journal at Christmas. So it's just a demo one to see the size that you could go for, but really you could make any shape. You could make them bigger, you could make it more oblong, thinner, thicker, whatever you feel would fit into your journal. So for this one, I also embellished it on the front. And this was for organising me for next Christmas. And I think I've even added in some names of people that I will be sending Christmas cards to. So the cardstock here is made out of old packaging, cereal boxes. And I've used scrapbook paper here, which was some that I had spare. And some pages again that I had spare that they weren't my best pages, and I just wanted to use them somewhere. So this is a really great project for using up odds and ends. I also practiced a 5-hole pamphlet stitch, so that was nice. And I think what I'm going to do today is show you one slightly smaller, but so that you can get the idea and we can just see how I put this together as a beginner's guide to junk journaling. So let's have a look at the materials that I found. So we've all got packaging in our cupboards and food packaging. This was a cereal box, and I am now going to use this to make my journal booklets. We're going to cut this up, and you're looking for that sort of, obviously the main bit. We don't want the side bits, but we still keep the side bits because they will make some great tags. So I've cut this out already, and so we can fold it in half, and then we're good to go. Is if you just bend it in half, you are going to get it so it doesn't match up. And it's going to just keep pinging open. So what I think is the best thing to do, and all good crafters will be shouting at me, yes, we knew this all along, is you should score it. So let's take one that I've cut in half. So that was one of those panels just cut in half. So we're just dealing with the bottom half here, and I've already done this actually, so all I have done is worked out where the center point is between this, and I think it worked out at 4 1/4, something like that. You then just score down the middle, Right, hang on, let's get this right. You want 3 lines all in a row. Okay, so we've got 3. 1, 2, and then this one here is the 3. And then you just make your folds. So you have got more of it that way. I mean, it's still going to ping open, but when you've got your paper in, it won't be forced open quite so much. It will have something that you will be sewing your pages into. But I have got a couple of fabrics here to see what we think. And I did attempt to iron them, but that hasn't quite worked here. So, oh, the other thing is to make sure that you keep the the printed side goes inwards, so you get the plain side outwards, and that's only if you're using fabric, because something like that fabric may show through that bright blue and white lettering. I can see it. I'm not sure if that's coming up very clear. Yeah, I think you can just about see that you would be able to make that out. So we don't want that. We want to keep that on the inside because we're covering it over with an opaque paper, so you won't see it. Right, so what we do is lie that down and just check the size. It's not an exact measurement, and it doesn't need to be either. You don't need to be precise with this. So we are just going to be bringing that in. Okay, you will need some glue that is strong enough to hold the fabric in place, and one that's not too runny that's going to seep through the fabric. So the best thing is to get yourself a fabric glue. I've got a fast tack glue here, which is an all-purpose one. It does say it's okay for fabrics, but it does require you to iron it, so that sounds like rather a lot of effort. So we're going with Fabri-Tac. Now you shouldn't need to reinforce the spine because we're not going to put loads of pages in this, and it is just a little booklet for occasional use. Flip that over and down we go. Next thing to do is your corners. And so we just put a little bit there, and we'll deal with the corners. Bring those in like that. So I'm going to put a drop of glue there, and then on this one I'm going to, well, I don't know exactly where the top of that is, so I'm going to just put the glue on the fabric. And I'm also gluing there and there, if everyone can see that. Come this way with it. Okay, and then we can bend it to really get that straight edge. And I'm doing this edge here, and then do the same again. That just straightens out that fabric. Don't worry too much about the mess, because, you know, it is what it is. It's junk journaling, and it is in no way meant to be perfect. We're just making a booklet here. How cool is that? That's the main thing. And we're using up fabric that probably, in my case, has been sitting around in the cupboard for a long time, and that piece of fabric was just not big enough to be a patchwork square or something that I had when I did sewing. I still like to sew, but I don't always get the time. So this is just a quick project that just makes you feel like you've achieved something, and we just want to really make sure that that is stuck down. We don't want any baggy bits. But do you see I've put in the longer sides first? Now I'm just going to fold this over, and then it sort of finds where it's supposed to go by doing it that way. Right, that's the cover done. My goodness, I do love Fabri-Tac. It's just quite instant, but doesn't seem to get everywhere. I have to remember to put the pin in, otherwise it does one of two things. Either clogs up the tube or it volcanoes out. But I have noticed a little tip, if you are a regular crafter and you use Fabri-Tac, is if you can buy the smaller bottle, although that's really bad value for money and it is better to get the big bottle, if you can get the smaller one, which is the 2 ounce, as opposed to, I've got the 8 ounce here as well, I decant into the smaller bottle, and that does stop some of that volcano glue erupting from the top, which I think happens when you get halfway down and then there's sort of a vacuum that blasts the glue out. So that is just a little tip. If you get the smaller bottle, you rarely get that, but you do get the nozzle clogging. Right, I think I've chatted enough for that to just set. Let's just pick something that goes in there. Maybe that's a nice one to pick out, that red flower. It's a nice pack. This came from the Works. If anybody's in the UK, we have most high streets see the Works, and it is online as well. You can get some papers. And then that's really where we're at. We want to just put that down there. And I'm really limiting my pages here to only 3. So it'll be 6 pages in total. I'm sewing in 3 pages. And then folded in half, they'll make 6 pages. So what I want to do now is just work out where I should be having this. And we will just use the scissors, I think. That wasn't very straight, was it? What happened there? What happened there? Oh, was it not a straight piece of paper? Oh. I think that's just me being silly. Okay, so that can go into the scrap heap for another project. Oh my goodness. Oh, there we go. Just using some glue stick here. This is a standard, nothing fancy, Scotch glue stick, and it doesn't say it's permanent. It's not Scotch Create. It is just the standard one, and it just works nicely to hold it. But I think we may just go around the edges of this. Oh, getting in a pickle with the Fabri-Tac as well. I'm just using a bit of brown craft paper here to catch all the mess. That's something that can be thrown away. It was just some packaging, so we're just using up stuff that comes through the post, through the door. Honestly, the most expensive item here is a bit of fabric, but frankly, if you've got some old blouses or cotton scraps or clothing, children's clothing, you could just use that. Particularly anything that's stained and you can't give it to the charity or Goodwill, you know, it's great to reuse some of the fabric. You launder it and then you would be able to do something like this. So it doesn't matter which way up this goes, or does it? Well, that isn't as nice as this to me. So this is now my front. You're going to get a bit of creasing. It's paper at the end of the day. If you had a fabric strip down there, it wouldn't notice so much. You do not need the metal corners, particularly on something as small as this. So that would just be an extra, and only if you have them. So just to demonstrate that, and you could just do 2. You may not want to bother, particularly as those have turned in so nicely. They would just be slotted on there. So let's see what we think. Do we like this? I mean, it does add a little extra. It makes it really look like a nice book that we have just made. So that's what that would look like. So to get those on properly, again, we go back with the Fabri-Tac. And because these are tiny ones, and then the nozzle is bigger than than the opening there. I can't get that in there to put the glue inside. So all I need to do here is just a little bead of glue on the corner and on both sides. And that will hopefully squash on. They're both the same on both sides. My fingers absolutely covered in sticky bits of glue. Please excuse the mess. And if you've got anything peeling up like this one, how did I miss that? I thought I went right the way around. There's always one, isn't there? Could make it a lot bigger so that you catch the corner into the corner, metal corners, because that's not going to catch. It doesn't matter, does it really? Because we're just making the rules up as we go along with junk journaling. And depends how you are. If you feel you want to be precise with everything, then absolutely make sure you do all the measurements. And speaking of which, the measurements of this one is, so it will end up being a 3-inch or 8 centimetre by 4 and 4¼ by, and that would be 11 centimetres. So 8 by 11 centimetres, or just over 3¼ inches, and just over 4 inches. So just over 3 and just over 4. We've got one more to go. If you want to hunt for page corners, book corners, that is all you type into a Google search and find out where you can get them. And if you can get them at your local craft store, I would suggest you go there if it's possible and support local. Otherwise, you can get these online, and you can get them from places overseas. And obviously the company that is named after that enormous river in Brazil. Right, there we go. So all that's missing, and anything wibbly wobbly, don't worry about it, because we can always just cover it up. That's kind of the fun of it. You know, you find something you don't like, you cover it up, and the next thing you know is it's unique. Right, so we're going to want some pages, and I've got some old cut-offs here. I've got some paper that I've dyed. I've got coffee dyed paper and baked paper that was had spices on it, and this was paper from red cabbage dyed paper that I grew the cabbage in my allotment. And this is where we've got I might go this way with it, because that was where I put a wet cup on top, and it created that. But you know, the corner's been damaged here, and we've got a hole in the page there. But do you know what? We're still going to use it because we can do something with that. Right, that's my line to cut. That's the straight edge, so I'm going to go around there. And I'm just going to, oh, that just about did it. So those are scraps, to keep those because, you know, another little booklet. And we turn it over because we know this is our straight edge because we just cut it. No, we don't, because we can't see. But we have to hope that those were cut straight at the manufacturers. And we just put that on the line. And again, more little scraps. In fact, they're excellent, aren't they? You could glue those all down and make a collage. All right, there we have it. So you find your centre. That's great. Clip it on. Paper clips work work well as well. So that's not moving now. So we're just going to mark out 3 holes, and we just come in a little bit. We're coming in at 2, and then we'll roughly go from there. So I'm going to come in about there, and I'm going to come in about there, and then between those 2 points is where I want my middle one, round there. Again, not exact. Nobody likes measuring, least of all me, because it's time consuming. But I do like a pretty end product, so I will spend the time to make sure that we're doing that right. Right, okay. Now the next thing is to remove that clip and clip it all together onto the booklet. Okay, we're back, and I'm going to have a go at sewing this together using a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. We've got our 3 holes marked out. You're definitely going to need something sharp and spiky. You could use the tool that is intended for this task, which is an awl. That's an AWL, spelled AWL. You could use a needle if you're absolutely stuck for something. That would also work. You have to wiggle it. Let's use this tool, which is what I've got. Now these are inexpensive. If you go to a craft shop, you should be able to get one for very little money, and again online. So let's start with the middle, and all we do is we bend it slightly towards us, and we're aiming straight the way out, like so. Okay, so that is bang where I want it. Doesn't always happen like that. I'm absolutely thrilled. And I'm just wiggling it through because this gets thicker as you go, and that will make a hole that I can work with. Same again here, so bend it towards you, aim it out straight, little bit of pressure, and that goes through. Wiggle and push it through to get the hole. Keep going back and forth because sometimes these papers move. Last one. Wiggle, push, 3 holes. Right, that is the safety plastic thing that came with it, so I try and keep that on. You're going to need a needle. You're going to need some thread. You do not need specialist thread, but bookmakers used wax thread. It's perfectly okay to use dental floss or some embroidery thread for something as small as this that is really going to stay together. Could even sew it, and you could staple it. So we need to thread the needle, which I'm trying to do. Here, there we go. And the length of thread you need is 3 times the length of your project. So that was 1, 2, and 3, and we just cut that there. Okay, so the next bit is to go through the hole out the other side. Right, so that is secure. We then go up through one of the other holes. It doesn't matter which one, but you are aiming to go through the back of it. So you get your first little stitch there. And then you are coming down through the final hole and out the other side. And then you go through the middle one the same way you went before. You push the middle thread over because you need to come up and away. We've just got 2 there. I'm going to cut it there. I'll use that bit for something else, I'm sure. Hang beads off of it or something for some other task, project. You've got your 2 threads either side of your main stitch. You just need to pull one way and one with the other in the other direction. Have a little bit of tension, and again this way, just to make sure everything is nice and taut. And then the wax stops it sliding around. So keep that tension on it, and just be careful not to go too aggressive with it. You do not want to rip your holes. I've put a knot there. I'm going to put another knot there. You can either have them dangling down and make a feature by adding something, or you can do a bow. But for this, I'm going to just cut them like so. And we have a little booklet that is complete. What you need to just do is take your bone folder or something like the edge of a pair of scissors, anything that you might have, even the glue bottle, and just flatten that out, and then it will stay shut. The other thing to do is just go over the pages and make sure they are nice and smooth and flat. You can do that on each page. Just be gentle though, because these are delicate pages, particularly if they've been dyed by coffee or tea or your own plant-based dyes. And then we've got that red that is brought out here as well. And then you can go ahead and start decorating this. You could put a corner pocket there, or you can start making your notes and keep it all neat. So that's the front, isn't it? I'm going to decorate the front, and I'm just going to use my paperweight to just hold that down, and because it does want to ping open a little bit, and that's why I think it's best to sandwich it between some heavy books overnight, and so you don't get that, and then you'll end up with this, and it's not pinging open. So that's how we solve that problem. I've just got a bit of old scrap here kicking about the desk, so I'm going to just take some of this, might fray it a bit by pulling off some of those threads. And I think a lot with the junk journal, we see a lot of aged and vintage style, and that's part of the fun, is to just or the challenge is to turn something commercial into something that looked like we had it from our childhood or our grandparents' childhood. A little bit of nostalgia. It's definitely a big movement in the junk journaling or journaling world, is to harp back to what we remember when we were little. It's certainly how it works for me, and what I remember from my grandmother and what she taught me. And so all these little things, especially the little fabrics, some of which were even hers, it just reminds me of some good times. And I think that's what journaling's all about, isn't it? Documenting our lives. And if we can use things that are special to us as well in our projects, then that just really brings it all together as a very thoughtful piece that we will keep for many years to come. And if it isn't using things that are special to us, we've still made something absolutely brilliant that you could pass on. So I'm just going here by sticking this on, but you could, if you have clusters, you could stick that on like that. And these are just scraps, odds and ends, old bits of papers and lace, old prints of wallpaper. Same with this one. That one's got a vintage button on it and a bit of silk. So that's very cute. We could just glue that on and say that's done. How pretty is that? If you didn't want the bulk, because it's already bulky, and you didn't want something with a button on because that's just adding, then we can carry on with this idea. So we're just picking the edges, and that releases those threads. I'm going to stamp an image or a word. So I think I will do the stamping before I do the gluing, in case the stamp doesn't turn out how I wanted it to. I have got some Tim Holtz words here, and I've just seen this one jump out at me. Imagine, will that fit? Yes, it will. Attempt to just ink that one bit with the archival ink. in black, jet black. I'm making sure that I'm just now wiping off any other word next to it, so I don't get the impression of that word. Right, so I'm taking away the ink from that comma, hoping I've got that E defined on the end there. Whoa, that's exactly what I didn't want to do. That's it. Line it up and do it like that, I think. And just hope that that has worked. Yeah, that's great. Okay. And let's just use that. That is just the plastic lid. I'm just pressing that down. There we go. Isn't that just so cute? And it could say anything. You could write your own words in a Sharpie pen. You could use pictures or images, and you could even cut out the letters and stick them on all different colours. Whatever your creative mind tells you to do. This is just a little bit of fun, but there we go. There's the booklet, and we could start just by finishing it off. Piece of red paper from earlier. Here we go. So just to tie it all in, commit to it and go for it. Yeah. Okay. And then we could just glue these on. Good. It's like liquid hot glue. So you do get these spindly, stretchy bits as well. That's something to be aware of. But, we could just sandwich that down. A little bit of pressure. Try and line it up so you don't see the white edge. And then you've got it on both sides. And so that will hang down and just match. And then we do the same with the other side. And there's no pressure. It's all very, very easy. And we're just having a go and seeing what ideas we can come up with together. So if you've got some other ways of doing things or some interesting ideas, do let me know in the comments below. I'd be open to hearing all of your suggestions. Keep them nice. This is a friendly place. We don't want to feel like we're upsetting anybody or feeling down about ourselves. So keep the comments friendly. This is a creative space for creative people. And anybody who would like to have a go at something either new to them or just getting some inspiration for some other ideas. This little booklet has been really fun to make. I think it would be great to tuck it into a journal or into a handbag or somewhere to keep a little note of what's going on. And you could rip the pages out. You could do anything, or it could be a keepsake to give to somebody. You could show your children and they could maybe gift it to their friends, make a party bag, gifts if you do some fun fabrics, or you could use paper. It doesn't have to be fabric. The fabric adds a little bit of extra strength to the entire booklet, and this should last for very many years to come. You could also add photographs. Loads of ideas for a little booklet. I'm sure you're all familiar with a booklet, but not necessarily how to make one out of scraps. So thank you everybody for watching. It's been absolutely great, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Subscribe to the channel and you won't miss any more of these fun tutorials. And coming up this week, we will look at how to press flowers, store flowers in our journals, and also what we can do with tea bags and turning them into a mock leather pouch project. Okay guys, so thank you very much for watching, and above everything else, just slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.